Hello, hello, hello. Peace and blessings, light and love. It is your girl, Raye Queen, and I am so super stoked that you are joining me for the second week in our 7-week Kemetic Chakra course. And today we're covering the Sacral Chakra. As you all know, technology is not my thing. I am learning it, so just struggle with you, girl. We're gonna get through it together, I promise. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Raye Queen. I am a board-certified holistic healthcare practitioner with an emphasis on mind-body connection. I am the founder of True Soul Food, which is a company that focuses on eating the right foods to help close the health disparity between people of color and their counterparts. I'm also the founder of the Secret for Sisters. That is something I've been doing for a long time without a name, because I've been doing sister circles and bringing sisters together for a long time in hopes of personal development, spiritual cultivation, and sisterhood. This is the website, thesecretforsisters.com. And yeah, I'm also an author. If you don't have my books, you need to buy one. There's several of them out there. Just go to Amazon and look them up. Okay, on to why we're here. The occasion of today is the Sacral Chakra. Now, this is one of my favorite workshops to do. I've been doing chakra workshops for a long time. And this one, particularly when I'm dealing with the Secret for Sisters or when I'm doing workshops for women, this one resonates with so many of the sisters I work with, because a large number of our diseases and ailments and energy deficiencies are a result of an imbalanced sacral chakra, because it deals with guilt and it deals with relationships, and that ties into our sexual organs, our reproductive centers. And so we're going to get into that today. Now, I hope you have downloaded your workbook, because I emailed them to you. If you do not have a workbook, it's because I do not have your email address. However, if you would like one, they're completely free. It's just a couple of pieces of paper where you can keep notes. Email me at RayeQueen, RayeQueen, at secretforsisters.com. And sisters is SISTAHS, and I'll get that over to you immediately. So now's the time when you start taking notes, my divine beings. Okay, so the sacral chakra, love it. The second chakra, which is the sacral chakra, blah, blah, blah. The second chakra, the sacral chakra, is the creative chakra. Okay, it's the creative chakra. And a lot of times people get hung up on that word creative, thinking you have to be creating art or music or making jewelry or something like that. And that is not what creative means. That's not all creative means. It most certainly does include those things, but we're going to talk more in detail about the creativities in your life and where they might be stifled. Okay, the sacral chakra starts vibrating around the age of 7. So once you reach the age of 7, that's when our energy shifts from obeying our parents and obeying our tribe. You know, we're closely attached to our families and what they say is okay. And then we begin to branch out and create our own identities. We're now in school. We're now making friends. And we're now being exposed to different ideologies and ways of thinking and behavior patterns. And so that's when we begin to focus on discovering the value of other relationships. Not just that they exist, because we know that before the age of 7, but we discover the value of other relationships. That's when a lot of people get their first best friends, and they value that relationship. That's when they become very trusting in their teachers. They value the relationship with their teachers. These are people outside of their tribe, outside of their family, that they are beginning to realize are important to them. And so that's why it begins to vibrate at around the age of 7. The root chakra is blocked by guilt, and it deals with sexuality, creativity, pleasure, and partnerships. Sexuality, creativity, pleasure, and partnerships. And it's going to get real deep today, but we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Let's finish this slide first. Okay, so the endocrine and physiological expressions involve around the testes and the ovaries and all of the reproductive organs. So just say sexual organs is where you will see the balance or lack thereof of the sacral chakra manifest. Okay, the sensory organ attached to the sacral chakra is the tongue. That means your taste may be out of whack. Have you ever tried to eat something, you just couldn't taste it? Or when other people say, gosh, this food is so salty, and to you, you just can't get enough salt, or something might be too sweet for you. If there's not a balance in your sacral chakra, it will manifest as extreme sensitivity to taste or an extreme heightened sense of taste. Now, if you took the last week's class, we talked about the root chakra, and that is attached to smell. So I know the mouth and the nose are really close to each other, but they have two very distinct purposes. Okay, the temperament of the sacral chakra is bad-tempered and irritable. If you find yourself highly irritated or quick to get mad, it's probably because your sacral chakra is out of whack. And that explains a lot of PMS, because when we talk about our monthly cycles, it is most definitely attached to the sexual organs. And that's why if it's out of whack, you're going to become irritable and bad-tempered. For those women who have a balanced sacral chakra, you'll have less PMS, you'll have less diseases of the reproductive organs, and we're going to talk more about that as well. And I know you can think back to a time when there were some periods in your life, maybe there were just 1 month or 2 months when you said, wow, I didn't have any cycle issues. My period came and I didn't even know it was coming because I didn't have any PMS at that time. Or there might be times when you have extreme PMS, extreme reproductive problems. And if you were honest with yourself and take a minute and reflect, I bet you can connect that now to maybe a bad relationship that was going on. Maybe there was some discord in your partnerships. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that your irritability manifests around the time of your month. And we're going to talk more about that as well. I know, lovelies, I talk so quickly. This is a video module, and that's the good thing. You can stop it and restart it whenever you like, okay? And you can always call me, and we'll talk about that later on. Okay, so there are oils or aromas that are associated with the sacral chakra. And those include, but aren't limited to, these are the ones that I have found most commonly used in the Kemetic tradition, in the Ifa tradition, in the Yoruban tradition, in the Orisha tradition. Gardenia, clove, that's supposed to say clove, orange, sandalwood, bergamot. Yeah, I think those are the main ones. And the stones. The stones are the gems that you should have on your person or around your person if you're doing work on the sacral chakra. Include amber, tiger's eye. I love tiger's eye. I have so many tiger's eye stones and carnelian. Those are just a few. They're not limited to those, but those are the ones that I have found most commonly used in the traditions I spoke about. Okay, so I talked about there are certain types of therapies that you can do to activate different chakras. The therapies that vibrate, that resonate with the sacral chakra include aromatherapy. Aromatherapy is good for all of them, but the sacral chakra particularly resonates with aromatherapy, especially if you're using those oils. You can burn those oils. You can wear those oils. You can burn incense that have those oils, but the sacral chakra resonates particularly high with aromatherapy and color therapy. Now, I know you're supposed to, have the colors around you and on you that resonate with the different chakras, but again, for the sacral chakra, this one is very important because it resonates even more so than the other ones. So we know that the color for the sacral chakra is orange. Wear orange, eat orange, just surround yourself with as much orange as possible. I am from Denver, Colorado. I happen to be a Denver Broncos fan. I know about the boycott. Please don't start writing me letters and all that crap. I am a Denver Broncos fan, so I have plenty of orange that I can keep myself surrounded with. Okay, what else? Dancing is very good for the sacral chakra. And I'll talk about that later. Okay, I had a thought, but I'm going to save that for another point. Tai Chi and yoga. I didn't put yoga on there. My bad. Add yoga to your list. Yoga is very good for the sacral chakra, and it's something I do. I don't do much Tai Chi. I've done it and I do it occasionally, but my go-to is yoga. If you haven't started a yoga practice, I would highly encourage it. You can go on YouTube and just Google Kemetic yoga or any type of yoga you want and start getting into the habit of doing yoga. It's very good for your sacral chakra. Now, the best sleep position to activate the sacral chakra is the fetal position. Fetus. I put fetus. Listen, y'all don't start writing me. I have 3 degrees. I know how to spell. I know what I'm trying to say. The fetal position. So you want to lay down like a baby and bend yourself around, curve yourself around, and that is going to activate the sacral chakra. Now, it's best to get at least 8 hours of sleep when you're working with the sacral chakra. I know that's hard for many of us, but if you can, do so. If you have to take a nap at some point in the day, do that. And I know that you're not going to stay in that position for the entire night, but if you happen to wake up, please remind yourself to go back to that position. And when you fall asleep, go into that position. And when you wake up in the morning, just assume that position for a few minutes before you get out of bed. Music. Music is always good for all of the chakras, and they each vibrate to a different style of music. And the sacral chakra likes fluid and swinging music. So, maybe do some salsa dancing. A lot of the Hispanic music has swinging vibes. Music you do ballet to, those types of songs are fluid and have swinging rhythms. Incorporate that into your life this week. Go salsa dancing if you must. Do ballet in your living room. Whatever it is, make sure you get that into your life. Did I talk about where it's located? I think we all know where. I didn't put that on this. I'm so sorry. The sacral chakra is located near your pubic bone. Okay, so it's in the space, not all the way to your belly button, but not exactly on the pubic bone. So it's a very small space there, and you want to make sure that you don't go up to where the belly button is, because that's where the solar plexus chakra is, and that's what we're going to cover next time. So it's by the pubic bone, just a little smidget above the pubic bone is where you can locate your sacral chakra. Now let's talk about the diseases that are associated with a sacral chakra imbalance. Okay, those diseases include diseases of the sexual organs, of the bladder, of the large intestine, of the appendix, and the kidneys. My bad, I left that off of there. Add kidneys to your work page. Now, I know we talked about large intestines and its connection to the root chakra. It's also connected to the sacral chakra. Okay, so if you're suffering from fibroids, which so many women of color are, or endometriosis, any type of reproductive cancers, urinary tract infections, a lot of cysts, kidney stones, appendicitis, inflammatory bowel disease. If this is something you're dealing with, particularly if they are reoccurring, then you have a blockage in your sacral chakra. And we're going to talk about why in just a few minutes. But it connects back to that creative energy being blocked. And we'll talk about that in a second. So again, I know I'm going quickly, but you can always pause it if you want to write this information down. Now let's talk about the emotional mental body that is connected with the sacral chakra. Now, the problems in the sacral chakra are a result of creativity that has not been birthed. Creativity that has not been birthed. Okay? So, if you, okay, just give me, I'm going to get to that in a second. Let's also talk about the fear of loss of control. People who have control issues usually have sacral chakra issues. People who have control issues are usually the people who end up with those diseases we just talked about. Okay? The energy represented by the root chakra that manifests as tribal, that begins to split. See, at first it's a unified energy at the root chakra, and then it starts to split into the polarities of the sacral chakra. So the sacral chakra represents polarities like yin yang, male female, the sun and the moon, right? Now, these polarities are not opposites. Be careful to stay away from the word opposites, except for complementary opposites. They serve each other. It's not opposite like one is good, one is bad, one is negative, one is positive. It means that they need each other to exist. They complement each other. Okay? It is here at the sacral chakra where we will attract the relationships that contribute to knowledge of self. We attract the relationships that contribute to knowledge of self. So just like when you're 7 and now you're in school, you're in the 2nd grade, and your teacher's showing you things and your best friend's exposing you to things, you begin to learn who you are outside of your tribe, outside of your family. And a lot of times, like in my instance, when you realize you're not like your family, you have to do chakra work so that you can address those issues at the sacral level. Because I didn't come into full knowledge of self until I accepted the fact that I have some very different spiritual beliefs than my family. You know, I didn't come into knowledge of self until I realized that me and my best friend are very different. Love her to death, but we are very different people, and I'm okay with that. And so that's where those type of questions and work needs to start to happen at that level. Okay? Now, the sacral chakra teaches us how to consciously interact. It teaches us how to consciously interact. Now, we spend a lot of our time and a large portion of our lives interacting unconsciously. We don't even realize we're there or we're half-assed there. I know that there was a time in my life in college that I did that to the extreme, and I know that because now I will see people and they'll say, "Hey girl, do you remember when we did this, 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 and this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do remember that." but I don't remember you being there. And that happens repeatedly. So I know that I was unconsciously interacting because the people meant nothing to me. It was just the situation. Okay? So here we start to become aware of our interactions. It's like we become the watcher. We're watching ourselves interact with the people in our lives. And when you become the watcher, and that's something I learned from Eckhart Tolle, once you become the watcher, it's amazing how you respond differently, right? Because a lot of times we respond unconsciously, and it's ridiculous. We lose our mind because somebody ate the last M&M. You know, like that was the last M&M in the whole world. It's not necessary. So when you become the watcher, you learn how to consciously interact. Excuse me, let me get some water. Okay, so so it teaches us that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. We've all heard that before. Sir Isaac Newton, they give credit to, but it was actually Imhotep who taught that concept. But we learn that, and that's why when we get older, we can clearly see that if I do this, it's going to result in this, so I'm not going to do it anymore. You know, if you talk to a young person or a younger person, they're not ready to see that yet because they haven't understood or accepted the fact that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction that might manifest physically, it might manifest spiritually, it might manifest mentally. I mean, there's different ways, but it always is true. It is absolute. Okay? So what we do is we open the door to every relationship we have ever had with the energy we are creating. Okay? We open the door to every relationship we have ever had with the energy we are creating. And so when I reflect back onto that time in my life when I wasn't consciously interacting, it still opened the door to the relationship between those people. And I carried the weight of those relationships with me until I was able to address it. So even if you're not conscious about your interactions, you're still taking on the energy of the people that you're surrounding yourself with. That's why it becomes imperative that you become conscious in your interactions, because every relationship we create with our energy. Okay? So you want to make sure you're creating the right energy. And you want to make choices wisely because, like I mentioned before, you are held responsible for every choice you make. Now, I want to talk about that a little bit deeper because, you know, a lot of times in the workshops I do, that is, it's not well received, I don't think. And so I want to talk about how that applies to manifestation and the laws of attraction. You see, it does not matter what we choose. It doesn't matter. You can choose the wrong thing over and over again, or what appears to be the wrong thing over and over again. But what we manifest in life, what we attract to us in life, is a result of why we make certain choices. Why is important. Your intentions are more important, more important than the what. So you have to have the purest of intentions. Your intentions have to be self-serving and serving of the community. If you make choices from that space, you'll always attract to you things that are good, things that are right, things that are powerful, things that you desire, because your intention is good. So even if I make the wrong choice, but my intentions are pure, my sacral chakra will be balanced. Okay, and I will manifest the things I want. Anybody who's working on the laws of attraction and manifestation, you know that I talk about this a lot, and so does every other practitioner of the laws of attraction. So, sorry, that was my phone. My bad. So that is important. Let me turn my phone off. I'm sorry. So that is important to know. Now, when we're talking about making choices, we need to know that every choice is, it carries a vibration of faith or fear. Every single choice. I don't care what it is. Every choice you make carries a vibration of faith or fear. Now, guilt is a result of compromising yourself for safety, money, or status. And that's why the creative energy is a way to balance the sacral chakra. So when you start to make choices, you may not realize that you're making a choice of fear, but if you manipulate somebody, or if you say, I'm trying to think of a good example for myself. I don't know. I can't think of an example right now. I'm sorry. I'll come back to that. But you guys can probably come up with your own example. You live in a state of fear, or you make choices based on fear when you are afraid of what's going to happen on the other end. And a lot of times we just say, I don't want that to happen. When you say, I don't want this or that to happen, that is a fear-based choice. Because the reason you don't want it is because you're afraid of something. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Gossip and manipulation drain power from the second chakra. Gossip and manipulation. And let me tell y'all something. People gossip. So many people gossip. And it becomes very hard to separate yourself from gossip. And it becomes very hard to determine what is gossip and what is just conversation. So a rule that I like to use is that it's not gossip if your intentions are pure and you're willing to share the information with the party that you're speaking about. Because, you know, it's impossible to not speak about other people. I speak about other people all the time. But my intentions are not to harm. My intentions are not to deceive. My intentions are not to manipulate. I'm just having a conversation about somebody else with the purest of intentions. So that's how you know if you're gossiping or not. And then manipulation, if you're trying to manipulate a situation to benefit yourself, that is going to destroy your sacral chakra as well. Okay? So how can we get back to balancing our sacral chakra? Literally and symbolically, the second chakra is the birth canal. Literally and physically in our bodies, it is represented by the birth canal. And then symbolically, it is represented by giving birth. That's why I mentioned creativity earlier. So if you stifle the birthing of anything, if you stop, smother, stifle giving birth to anything, I mean ideas, relationships, babies, it results in an energy suffocation. You suffocate your energy because you're trying to create something, a project, a new business, babies, whatever it is. You're trying to create that. And if you stop it, if you smother that, then you're suffocating that energy, right? And that ultimately causes an energy abortion, physical abortion and or energy abortion. And that is so damaging. That stays in our spiritual bodies, which then is absorbed by our physical bodies and causes so much physical and spiritual damage. So the prevention of an idea or a project or a relationship, you know, it causes that energy abortion, and then it leaves energy scars. And we carry those scars on our person and in our energy so that, you know, when you come across certain people, you can tell that they're wounded. I mean, they physically might look fine, but you can tell that their energy is wounded and there's something wrong with them. They're heavy, they're angry, they're depressed, there's something going on. It's because energy scars have been left that you haven't dealt with. You have to remove those energy scars. Of course, we all have had energy abortions. I've had them, you've had them, we've all had them. We've all stopped a project. You know, we've been in situations where you say, just forget it, it's too much, I don't want to do it anymore. And then we stop. Maybe you dropped out of school. Maybe you had an abortion. I've had an abortion, you know. I'm not proud to admit it, but it's my truth. When I was much younger. So I know that left an energy scar, and that I had to actively address. so that it did not manifest itself into a physical ailment, and so that I did not walk around with all these energy scars that are so visible to other people. You know, we meet people all the time and you're like, hey, I don't even know this sister, but I'm going to stay away from her. Or this person, period. There's something just not right about that person, because energy scars are indeed transferable. Okay? So let's talk about sexual energy. And this is where, let's just talk about sexual energy, okay? So blocked sexual spiritual, and that's what I want you to start saying. Sexual spiritual, because sex is always spiritual. So we're going to talk about the sexual spiritual energy that manifests as feminine problems. Sexual spiritual energy manifests as feminine problems, and it does manifest for men as well, but this workshop is only for women, so I'm talking about the feminine problems connected to sexual spiritual energy. So that blocked sexual spiritual energy can manifest as fibroids, ovarian cancers, other reproductive problems like we mentioned earlier. So when women internalize confusing signals about her own sexual spirituality, or when she experiences guilt or shame attached to her sexual spirituality, it blocks the sacral chakra. So by confusing signals, you know, your tribe might be saying don't have sex until you're married. And of course you have sex before you get married. But you've internalized that contradiction. That's going to cause problems in your sacral chakra. You're going to feel guilty about it. You're going to feel ashamed about it. And that is going to block your energy. And that could be other examples. Say you are a prostitute. Or say you're not a prostitute, but you've had a series of relationships and you've had sex with all of them. And you're judged for that. And at some level you feel bad about that. That's going to block your sacral chakra. Your sexual spiritual, that sexual spiritual energy is going to block your sacral chakra. You know, I always use an example in my workshops about two friends. I have two close girlfriends who are both very sexually, spiritually open. They're comfortable in their sexual nature. I shouldn't say that. Let me start over. I have two friends who have a lot of sex. Let's leave it that way. A lot of sex, a lot of partners. And one of them has a lot of problems in her life. And the other one doesn't. Now the reason one has a lot of problems is because of her intention behind a lot of sex. Now she has a hard time finding the man of her dreams, I guess. And she thinks that sex is going to be a way to keep him. So she's given sex. But her intentions are to trap or to get this man, to make him become her man. Whereas the other one, who has a lot of sex, is doing it just for sex. Okay, she's comfortable with it. She doesn't expect anything from it except for the exchange of sexual energy. And she lives her life just fine. Now, one of these women have been called out of name, derogatory names like hoe and slut and all kinds of stuff, while the other one hasn't. They engage in the same practices. Why do you think the first one gets called names and the other one doesn't? It's because the second one owns it. She's not afraid to be who she is. She walks it, she talks it, she'll tell you about it. She's very comfortable with it, and the men that she's with know that. And so they cannot diminish her or take her power. They cannot take her power from her because she's not allowing them to do so. Whereas the first one is allowing them to take her power because her intentions were not pure going into it. Okay? So the release of, let's talk about orgasms for a minute. And the release of sexual spiritual energy. Now, anytime we release sexual spiritual energy, it is essential to the physical, mental, and psychological health of our bodies. Releasing that energy, I want to say it again, is essential to physical, mental, and psychological health. Okay? That's why they say people who have sex regularly live longer. It's true. An orgasm is one way of releasing energy debris. See, when you have an orgasm, you release energy debris. Some of those scars we were talking about are released through an orgasm. So, other ways you can release the energy debris is through exercise and creativity. That's why, I have a friend who hasn't had sex in a long time, and she paints her walls in her house every week, every two. I'm like, did you freaking paint again? Like, she's burning that creative energy. She's moving her house around every week, like put the couch over here, hanging pictures over there. She's always doing something, and that is because she needs to release. She needs to release that energy that needs to be released through the sacral chakra, right? And if you don't release it, it blocks the chakra. It blocks it. So now you have all this energy debris around your sacral chakra, so it cannot vibrate and you cannot connect to its frequency. And so now you're going to be faced with a lot of problems, a lot of those reproductive problems that we talked about earlier, right? So it's important, it's crucial that you release sexually or through exercise or through creative projects. That's another sign that your sacral chakra is out of balance. If all of a sudden you become very creative. I know for me, there have been times, I'm not like an artist or anything like that, but I do make like my own soaps. I do make jewelry, and it's not something I do all the time. But every now and then I'll have this strong desire to just make some jewelry or a strong desire to make soap. I just start making stuff. And now I understand that's because my sacral chakra is out of balance and is trying to release some of that energy debris that has been built up in my system. And so anytime you get the urge to just start making something or create something, do it. Even if it's a project, like you get an idea, you want to start a new company or you want to start an organization that deals with young women, whatever it is, whatever idea is birthed in your mind, you need to follow through on it so that you don't build up the energy debris in your system. Okay? The sacral chakra houses personal ethics and morals. That's where you're going to find your ethics and morals. It keeps track of promises and commitments. Your sacral chakra keeps track of every promise you make and every commitment you make. That means when you don't follow through on a promise or you don't follow through on a commitment, it's going to throw your sacral chakra out of balance unless you make peace with it. Now, there are going to be times when you can't follow through on everything you said you would do. But if you do it, the intention has to be pure. Okay, so if you just say, I don't feel like doing it, I'm not going to do it, you're going to have energy debris built up around your sacral chakra. Now, if you just got caught in a traffic jam or, you had a family emergency and you weren't able to do it, that's not going to build up the energy debris because your intentions are still pure. Circumstances preventing you from doing it. I know I got into the habit years and years ago of not making plans too far in advance. I would have girlfriends say, okay, we're going to go out this Friday night and it's Monday. I learned to say, okay, let's talk on Friday and I'll let you know. Because I don't want to commit to something on Friday because I knew me. Girl, by the time Friday got here, I wasn't trying to go to nobody's club. I was trying to stay home and just chill. And so I learned to say, oh, this is too far in advance. Check with me again on Friday and I'll let you know. Now, there are some times when you just can't do that. Maybe you have a function that you have to go to, a wedding that you commit to go to, things of that sort. You kind of want to just, you want to commit to that in advance. But whenever possible, and if you're not sure, just say, I'll check back with me closer to time. and I'll let you know. Because if you say yes and you don't do it, you're collecting energy scars. And I'm telling you, sisters, it's going to weigh you down over time. So, and that also goes to promises and commitments we make to ourselves and to others. So I know we said, you told your girlfriend I might go out with you Friday night, but what about the promises you make to yourself? Every January 1st, people make all these New Year's resolutions that they don't follow through on. That's going to build energy debris. So when you make a promise to yourself, make sure it's a promise you can keep, because it destroys you. It's very destructive emotionally. It's very destructive mentally. It's very destructive spiritually. So be very careful about the promises you make to yourself. Okay? Now, the sacral chakra expresses this energy in physical forms. So when we talked about the root chakra, that was things that you could not see, right? It was internal promises, internal manifestations. But with the sacral chakra and these promises and commitments, it's going to manifest in physical forms. So when you want to make more money, or you want to start a business, or they're going to be things that you can actually see, right? Those are the promises and commitments that I'm speaking about. Tangible things that other people can see. Okay? So we must form sacred unions and contracts with ourselves in order to have a balanced sacral chakra. So as we all know, orange is the color of the sacral chakra. So you need to go to the store, and this week you're going to load up on orange foods. Carrots, cantaloupes, mangoes, peaches, carrots, sweet potatoes, anything orange. Just eat as much orange as you possibly can. Wear as much orange as you possibly can. Get orange candles. If you don't have any, there's a chakra candle set on my website you can purchase. They're little, so you might have to burn a couple of them, but burn orange candles regularly. While you are burning your candles, I can't express this enough, make sure you state your intentions. Okay? So if you've been carrying guilt around, or if you are ready to accept that you're not like your tribe, you want to state those intentions. So you might say something like, I released the guilt from having that abortion when I was 20 years old. I will no longer carry that guilt. I will no longer carry the burden of having several sexual partners. Okay. I will no longer feel guilty about, I'm trying to think of another example that women have told me. I will no longer feel guilty about being promiscuous, right? I will no longer feel guilty about choosing to sleep with whoever I want to. That means you've made peace with the fact that you want to have as much sex as you want to. And when you own it, it doesn't block the energy. So you're free to have as much sex as you want to if that's what you want to do. Okay? And once you free yourself from the guilt, nobody can make you feel guilty about it. Nobody can make you feel ashamed about it anymore. I no longer feel ashamed about having an abortion. I do not believe in abortion, but I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of the fact that I did have an abortion many years ago. But by me sharing my truth and me not feeling guilty about it, you cannot hold that over my head. Does that make sense? Okay. Perfect. So how do you know when your orange chakra is balanced? You know because you'll start to become released. You won't feel held captive to things like lust or greed or anger. Your language becomes beautiful, meaning you find words that are more beautiful. You know, your conversation kind of flows a lot better. See, my chakra is blocked for real because I can't even talk today. You find pleasure in little things. You know, you'll notice the sunrise or the sunset. You'll see flowers. You'll see beauty in people. You'll find pleasure in everyday things. Your relationships will become more peaceful and harmonious. You'll have a healthy sexuality, whether you're choosing not to have sex at all, whether you're having multiple sexual partners. You'll find a healthy balance in that. You'll become more open to others instead of being so blocked off. Your intuitive knowledge kicks in. You'll just begin to know things. You don't know why you know, but you just know. And you can rest assured it's valid. Okay, I know a lot of people who get intuitions and they write them off. Do not do that. Your intuitions are the truth. Roll with them. You'll become more creative and you'll become more receptive to receiving input, ideas, whatever from other people. Okay, that's how you know when your orange chakra becomes balanced. And your fibroids will start to go away. Your cysts will start to go away. You know, I think I mentioned I have a doctorate in natural medicine, and so I treat a lot of my clients with foods that will help your fibroids or your cysts to go away. But we also talk about the mind-body connection. You know, they call ovarian cancer the golden cuff syndrome. That's actually the name for it, because the golden cuff means women who feel like they're tied down to a relationship or they're doing things they don't want to do because of comfort, because of money, because of whatever. That's why it's golden and it's a cuff. They're tied to this beautiful lifestyle that they don't really want. So they're sacrificing some certain part of themselves. Those are the women who suffer from ovarian cancer the most. That's why it's called the ovarian cuff syndrome. So you have to understand the mind-body connection is real, and what we put into our bodies is real as well. So if you're dealing with any type of reproductive problem, I can tell you which foods you want to deal with in addition to the orange foods. And there are other things you can do, like using tea tree oil and coconut oil, placing that into your vagina, a bunch of other things. If you want more information on that, hit me up, Raye Queen at secretforsisters.com. So now you are going to do your journaling exercise. There are 8 of them. You can choose however many you want, but make sure you journal about it. That is one of the best ways to release energy debris, because a lot of secrets we have need to be released, and that is how you can release it without having to tell the whole world. So make sure you journal, and it also gives you a chance to evaluate where you are and why you do the things you do, and if that's really your voice or if that's the voice of your tribe, the tribe you were born with. Okay? So, we got through that. My mouth is so super dry. I'm so sorry. So next week we're going to talk about the solar plexus chakra. Now this is a popular one as well, and I'm looking forward to talking about that. The solar plexus chakra deals with personal power. It deals with management, how you manage your life. It deals with structure, purification, transformation. So we're going to get into that next week. I hope that you join us. As always, wishing you the very best in health. And remember that laughter should be the only thing that hurts. I'll see you next week on the other side. Peace and blessings.